Okay, hello and welcome. My name is Mallory Flaherty, and I'm glad that you all could make it today. We're going to go over some Web 2.0 tools, putting reading and writing into the hands of our students, but with technology. You will see a couple handouts, and we'll get to those in just a little bit. Okay, so first of all, we're going to go over our learning goals. The first one is that teachers will be exposed to the technology standards for students and determine the correlation to the Common Core and standardized testing in Ohio. And the second one is that we will deepen our understanding of Web 2.0 tools and how they can be used in the classroom. This is important because the standards for students can help guide us in our instruction and the technology that we choose to use in our classroom. And also this is important because in order to use that technology, we need to be exposed to it and know more about it. Okay, the next thing I want to go over are the learning objectives. So by the end of the session, you will be able to understand the advantages and disadvantages of using Web 2.0 tools in the classroom. You will know a variety of Web 2.0 tools and where to find them and how they can be used with your students. And then lastly, you will understand the importance and correlation of the Common Core integration of technology while using the technology standards as it pertains to standardized testing. Okay, so first of all, what is Web 2.0? So we've heard this thrown around, it's kind of a jargon. So I want you guys to just kind of think, pair, share. So what do you think Web 2.0 is? So you can think to yourself and then discuss with one another.
My understanding is that they're tools that students can use to enhance their learning. So like they can practice things on them, but they interact with them, they interact with learning, the knowledge, and all of that. So that in the midst of interacting and engaging not only with themselves, the technology, but even other students, they're learning and deepening their knowledge. That's what I think.
Yeah, when you said the interaction, that's where I get the 2.0 is more of instead of the 1.0 being very flat and just a site you get on and go through the steps. The 2.0 is more interactive and interactive with other kids. Not so much interactive because it's all interactive,
Right.
But the interaction with other people that are out there.
Okay, I think you guys are on the right track.
Good thoughts. Good thoughts.
The internet is constantly transforming. It's no longer simply a place where we can find information. It's now a means of collaboration and communication. So we're going to watch a couple of videos in just a moment, but knowing that Web 2.0 is more like a two-way street, so you can go to the internet, you can research something, find information, but now you can also give feedback on that information or talk to somebody else about it too. What do you think are some possible advantages of this change with the internet?
Deepening of understanding. Global learning.
Well, and just, stuff that's tried and true too. You can read like what other people think about it so long as they're being accurate.
Yes. Yeah.
And truthful.
And then that kind of leads to disadvantages.
Yes,
So
for sure.
we'll talk about the standards later, but one of the standards talks about ethical use and safety. We're putting our kids on the internet every day or a couple times a week. We want them to be safe. So what are some other possible disadvantages that you could foresee?
Incorrect information. Someone you think is accurate in their research and yet they're not. So,
or are students getting off topic and telling more information, about themselves?
Okay. Yeah. All right. So then I am going to show you. This is actually a tool that you will get to explore later. It's called Glogster. And so I created this. Glogster is kind of like a poster presentation, but it's interactive. You can add audio, you can add video, and when you're looking at it, it looks flat. But then when you start clicking around, things start moving. There's sound bars over here. So it's just a pretty cool tool that we could use with our students. So right now I'm using this, with my colleagues, but we could also have students be using this to show learning. So we're gonna watch 2 short videos. The first one will hopefully give you a better understanding of what Web 2.0 is. Okay, so that video just kind of shows us why implementing technology is so important. Technology is on the up and up. It's going to continue to be, growing and changing. And so as educators, we need to be implementing that in our classroom. So what were some of the things from the video that maybe stood out to you guys that were maybe scary or made you think that we need,
part about having a child in college and what they're learning isn't even going to be relevant by the time we graduate, so.
And a lot sooner than that, only 3 years.
And so that's just even more reason, a lot of times we hear, oh, kids are getting too much screen time. They're constantly on their tablet. They never go outside and play anymore. But we need to be mirroring that in the classroom. So the next thing I want you to look at, you should have a handout that says ISTE standards. These are the technology standards for students. And these were actually just revamped this year in 2016. So they're slightly different. If you've looked at them up in the past, I know on the pre-survey, some of you said you were somewhat familiar with the standards, but it kind of breaks it down for you. There are 7 different standards with 4 indicators for each standard, which is slightly different than the 2007. There were only 6 standards with 4 indicators. And these standards were created to emphasize the skills and qualities that we want our students to learn, and which would enable them to engage and thrive in a connected digital world. We're not going to go through these in depth today, as this could be its own PD session. So this is just a brief overview and to show you where you can find them. So if you're interested in learning more about the standards or other information that ISTE has out there, you can go to ISTE.org, and you do have to sign up, but it's free. Most of the stuff is free. And then they make you put the standards in a shopping cart. It's just so that you're not illegally dispersing them, But in 2007, technology was integrated into the classroom as a way for students to learn. And now in 2016, we are seeing that technology can actually change or shift the way that our students are learning for the better. So there has been a shift in technology integration from teachers using the technology. So, a lot of times we're up here at the smart board showing the kids something, we're showing them a video. Now we're having them log in, find a video, and then reporting back to us. So just a little bit of a shift. Just watch that. Okay, so what does this mean? Oops. What does this mean for our students? This means that our students, lost my page. Okay, so this means that with the use of technology in the classroom, students are able to have more meaningful and authentic learning experiences. Technology also allows for more differentiation, so you can set the students up in small groups, have a group working on one thing over here, while you're meeting with a group at the table, have another group working over here, and also flexible learning. And through the use of technology, students are able to increase their critical thinking skills and problem solving skills. So if you notice, there's a lot of jargon that we also find in the Common Core standards. Critical thinking, higher level thinking, students developing things. So the 2 standards kind of go hand in hand. Students are also able to increase their creativity by producing and taking charge of their learning. Okay, so knowing that, what does that mean for our teachers? Our teachers need to continue to be educated on various types of multimedia and Web 2.0 tools. That way they know what they can use in their classroom and how they can use it. Our teachers need to also plan for technology in their lessons, and it should be used in a meaningful and purposeful way. A lot of times we might set up our laptops at the station, but if it's not meaningful and they're not producing something or taking something away from that task, then it's really not doing what we want it to. And then the last one, teachers should be willing to try new things and allow students to deepen their knowledge while exploring the various tools and the websites that technology can offer. So a lot of times teachers are somewhat hesitant to branch out and try new things because maybe they've never heard of it, or maybe they don't have time, or there are a lot of what ifs or things that we could throw in there. Okay, so the first tool that I will hopefully show you, if the internet cooperates, is Prezi. And I know some of you had said you're somewhat familiar. I know you've done presentations with it in the past. So what are some different ways that you have seen Prezi used either by teachers or by students?
I feel like we had a workshop one time at the high school on this.
Okay.
I think on one of those breakout sessions I chose to go here, I think.
Okay.
Clearly it was memorable. But I think that was one of the.
So it is a presentation website. However, it moves around, you can add videos into it, and the great thing about it is that it's all online. So if you're a Mac user or a PC user, or you're trying to collaborate with somebody who has a different device than you, it doesn't really matter. So you just simply log into the internet and you can share your Prezi with your friends, and they can work on it at the same time as you. And then knowing that, let's kind of brainstorm some ways that we could imagine, in a perfect world, our students using this tool. What kinds of things do you think you could have them do with Prezi?
Daily writing, journaling and such.
Mm-hmm.
If you're showing them pictures and moving, that could generate more thought in them to come up with a story to go along with it, or something like that.
I think you could take a vocabulary word and put it in the middle, and then have them find a picture that matches the vocabulary word, use it in a sentence, and have all the moving parts around that vocabulary word as part of their presentation. And by the end of the session, if you give 3 or 4 different people the same vocabulary word, see what different types of things they came up with. Something like that would be really cool to do.
So like a graphic organizer, but
Yeah.
just digital.
But digital.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I used this last year for our curriculum night that we had, and I used it with the parents that came to my classroom, and so it was more of all about me, all about my classroom. It was just a presentation in that sense. So I'll go ahead and show this to you. All right, so welcome to curriculum night, and so what I did was I just told a little bit about me. Talked about my classroom expectations, within that homework expectations. So it's another presentation tool, but it's fun. You can actually add music to it and things like that too. So that's one way that you can use this tool. Go back here.
Now you had to click each one of those to open up, as opposed to it being set so that every few seconds or
There
whatever
is
another one would.
There is a presentation view, so you can click through, but when I did it with the parents, I just clicked through. I had my wireless keyboard and just clicked through and stopped and paused, asked questions type thing, but there is a way that you can set it up that way. Then the second way that I use, this is for another class that I took this summer. We had to do like a show what you've learned. And so I used Prezi and I made a handout, and as opposed to a presentation, it's like a handout view, but it looked like a newspaper, and so it just talked about, I had to read a couple articles, and then it talked about what I had learned from that article. So it was a way to synthesize after reading, so we could use that with our students also. It's still loading a little bit. Okay, so the next one I'm going to teach you about is called Glogster, Blogster is an online tool that allows students and teachers to create interactive multimedia posters, and that was actually what I was showing you at the beginning of the presentation. So this was the blog that I created. Here I added some audio, which talks about some other tools. Go ahead and click on that.
Hey there, I'm going to talk to you about a few of the tools that I've selected. Over on the left-hand side, you will see them listed, and if you click on those links, they'll take you to the websites and you can kind of explore on your own. The first tool that I found is called SlideShare. This is very similar to PowerPoint. However, if you don't have access to PowerPoint, you can simply go online. There's no need to download. You can also communicate with teachers and students through your presentation. There's a way that you can add audio to your presentation, kind of like I'm doing right now. The second one is called Prezi, and I use Prezi in my classroom. At the beginning of the year, I use it at my open house, and I use it throughout the year to teach students various things. But I find that my students are more engaged when I use Prezi because the slides move as the presentation goes on. It's very user-friendly. I've never had my students create a Prezi, but that doesn't mean that I won't definitely in the future. The next two tools that I found are called Edmodo and ClassDojo. Edmodo and ClassDojo are educational platforms in which you can communicate with parents, teachers, and students. Teachers can share homework assignments, activities, grades, and students can use these tools to collaborate and communicate with one another. ClassDojo is a little bit different. I use this in my classroom as
And I'm just going to stop it right there. So those are some tools, and then at the end I also have a handout that I'm going to give you guys, which kind of goes over some of the top tools for young learners. So the last one that I had mentioned before or the second to last one that I had mentioned before I turned it down, the Edmodo, is similar to what we used to use, the My Big Campus. A lot of schools right now are going towards Googleization, and I foresee and hopefully that our district will go that route too. It just kind of makes sense. Everything on Google, you know, you do have to pay for the Google Classroom, but all of the apps are free. So we're spending a lot of money paying for Microsoft Office when we could be using the Google things for free. So hopefully in the future we'll head that route. A lot of schools are doing that. It's just easier. It's like Microsoft, but it only takes a little bit to teach the kids how to use the tools. There's Google Docs, Google Slides, lots of other things that the kids can then use also. But the Edmodo is kind of like a platform. So that would be a way that you could communicate with parents. It's kind of like a replacement for email, I think. So you can send grades, it's kind of like our progress book too. So. All right, and then the third tool that I want to show you guys today is called Storybird. I just recently found out about this, and when I was looking for a way for students to create books in an inexpensive way, obviously. You know, when I was doing student teaching, I had a classroom teacher who the kids would actually create books. She would ship them out, and then they would print them, they would bind them. It can be really costly. So Storybird is a website where students can create their own stories. But the catch is they give you the artwork. So they use famous artists' artwork or artists who are trying to get their name out there, and they provide those to you. And then you would move the artwork to the slide that you choose, and then you would type what would go with that story. So I started a story on Storybird to kind of share it with you guys. Is it? Ellie makes. Oh, yes. Ellie makes a friend. So when you log in a Storybird, at first it doesn't look like this. You have a little bit of setup that you have to do, but it's not completely finished, but this is a start to one of the books that I made. So I selected the monster, and then I typed in, there once was a monster named Ellie. Ellie dreamed of becoming a scientist, but there was one problem. Ellie wasn't very good at science. and then I selected another picture, and so it's a lot of creative thinking that the students are having to build. They're given these pictures, and then they have to think of what could go with that, or how can I make my story make sense. So at first, I had all of these different, monsters, and I just kind of thought, how can I make this make sense? Because there's not a lot of pictures of just Ellie. So I wanted Ellie to be doing different things in my story, and so they had another monster that was blue, and so then I turned it into this. So once she tried to develop a special serum to soften her skin, but instead it turned her skin blue. Her mom wasn't too happy about that. Ellie wasn't really sure why. It only took her 12 showers to get back to normal. And then the last one that I created, I selected another monster. Ellie's friend Delos told her that she could do anything she put her mind to. She just had to keep on trying and never give up. It was something his teacher called grit, but he thought that was something like oatmeal. So it's just a cute, fun way for students to not only practice their typing skills like we want them to be able to do on the standardized tests, like we want them to be able to do, just to, in general, meet the standards. But then they can kind of have fun with it too.
Can you add more than one piece of art?
You cannot. So it's only one piece of art per page. And then I also, completely other professional development could be digital storytelling, which I was talking to you about. But there was a student who was entered into a contest for digital storytelling, and he actually used this Web 2.0 tool, and he won. So, yeah.
How do the kids say that since it's web-based, they have to create an account?
So you, as a teacher, create, kind of like Raz Kids, you create usernames, you can give them passwords, or you can get rid of the passwords, I believe, if you don't want to worry about that, like, how do you spell your last name type thing. But you give them username, and then when they save something, it goes automatically to you. So you can check in on the progress that they've made, or have conference with them. Hey, I saw, it's just like the writing process, but online now. We'll get started. Okay, so the next part of the session, we're going to do a website exploration and learning task. So if you open up your laptop, as long as it was on the one,
Yeah.
did you change it to?
I did. I would go to student.
Okay, yeah. And there should, Prezi, Glogster, and Storybird should be tabs up at the top, and then you'll also see a Survey Monkey. Please don't do the survey until the end, but I want you to use at least maybe one Common Core reading or writing standard from your grade level, or Marcy, you can just pick whatever grade level you choose. You could do first grade since you used to teach first grade, or whatever. And then I want you to choose whichever website you'd like and begin creating a task that your students could then show their understanding of that standard. You can choose if you guys want to work together and just do one task, or if you're familiar with Prezi and you want to try out one of the other Web 2.0 tools, then you could try it that way too.
Turn it up. Somebody say